Right, T, would you like to do the intro?
Why are you asking?
I'll help you through it.
What do I say?
Well, firstly, you say, warning,
Warning.
this podcast may contain bad language
This podcast may contain bad language
and scenes that some people
and scenes that some people
may not want to hear T
may not want to hear T
and find him offensive
and find him offensive
to look at
to look at
and be around
and also be around.
and have him suck them off.
And that's the limit.
Welcome to the Seesaw Podcast with T and Cleve.
Each week, offering up a delayed perspective on life. I'm glad I had you coddle and guide me through that intro because I've never done one before.
Well done. Do you want to try it again by yourself, or do you want me to
I think I need
slap
you to,
and rub you while you do it?
what I really need is for you to lean
do it
over
for
my
you.
shoulder, even though that's my responsibility, and you do it for me.
Okay. Well, would you like me to help you make a cheese sandwich?
Well, ask Dan.
I'm not gonna.
He loves cheese sandwiches, I assume. Not once did we ever question whether he actually likes cheese sandwiches.
Oh, cardinal sin.
I'm more of a wafer thin ham man myself.
What about with cheese?
Yeah, I mean, if you got both going on.
What about a pre-sliced cheese?
If it's Cathedral City, I'm on board.
So basically we're saying that skill was completely debunked by technology.
What I'm saying is, if I can afford to buy pre-sliced Cathedral City cheese, I'm middle class.
Pound from Iceland, mate. Get 5 slices, that's 5 sandwiches.
5 slices of cheese for £1? You're fucking up. You're a rich boy again here. Fuck me. Oh, I can buy 5 slices of cheese for £1 when every other fucker's got to buy a co-op block for £2.25 just to get the family by. Fuck you.
I think we're getting off track. Let me just adjust my monocle and we'll get started. Welcome to Seesaw, episode 50, the late 50s. How are things, Cleves?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I am adequate.
Great. Good podcast material, that.
Yes, I think so. I think adequacy is what you can expect in every episode.
Here's what I think. The last couple of episodes I've enjoyed more, but I think that's the wine talking for me.
We have been drinking wine
As opposed
rather
to
than beer. And I think it gets you a little bit further along.
It's New Year, so we've had to switch, to something slightly more...
Stronger.
In your case, rich, I was going to say. For every bottle of beer, you're now drinking a bottle of Moet.
That is alcoholism, not richness.
A bit both. If you're rich enough that you don't have to go to work and can sit around drinking all day.
Excellent. So, let's crack on. So, we're now on Reddit. I alluded to it briefly at the end of the last episode, but we're now on Reddit.
My question is, have you read it?
Well, that's the whole point of Reddit, isn't it?
No.
So, we're now on Reddit. You can find us at r/Seesaw Podcast.
Ooh, sexy.
And we've actually got a significant amount of feedback off of last week's episode. I didn't think Braille would be this fucking controversial, but apparently, if you put in Reddit...
Braille or fail.
Braille or fail, people get really, really riled up about this.
Why? Everyone knows Braille's for the fucking birds. So who's championing that shit?
Au contraire, mon ami.
Oh, look who's learned French. Someone really has been doing nothing all week.
Hey, I've been drinking that French wine and brushing up on my française.
Brushing up on my dents.
I don't know what that is.
It's French for teeth, you're welcome.
I haven't got to dance yet. I'm working my food.
Just dunce.
I'm working... You're a dick. On my special hat. Can't wear that anymore. Working with French alphabetically. Learn all the A words first, regardless of what they mean.
Oral.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You're such a derailing dickhead.
No, you've not got to D yet.
No.
Well, that's a lie. You've been on D since day one.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, let's get back on track.
30.
So,
30.
people have been a little bit sort of, needless to say, a bit passionate about what we brought up about Braille being redundant with technology. We still stand by what we said, don't we?
Oh, bringing me into it now, eh?
What, do you still stand by what you said?
Oh, yeah, I'm never going to learn Braille.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn how to use technology. More so. Don't get Braille, get a phone. That's my moniker.
I mean, that's completely fair. And that's what I have recommended to people. So we'll just go through a couple bits of feedback. We have a piece of feedback from Retro Lentil Morose.
Cool name, bro.
So they basically said that they use a refreshing Braille display, which we didn't cover in the episode, and it allows them to read a lot more than they did with paper.
Mm. What makes it so refreshing?
So refreshing...
The vitamin C in it?
God, that orange zestiness. So a refreshing Braille display is essentially a A4 piece of paper, or they come in different sizes. And imagine like there's little dots on it, and they all raise up like a Kindle. It's basically a Braille Kindle. And then like you push next page, and it just raises them up differently. So instead of having the big bulky books, the reason we didn't cover this is it's not accessible monetarily because these things are thousands of pounds. They are stupidly expensive for good ones. And this comment was also superseded by the whole, they do this, they can read more now than they ever did with paper. And again, it doesn't get around the fact that we said Audible is your best bet.
Wait, so you're telling me that if I want to read, I can choose something that may cost me hundreds to thousands of pounds that I can feel my way through, providing I don't have calluses from playing my guitar, for example, or I can pay £7 a month for Audible?
Fair point. I'm just saying what the feedback is.
Well, I'm just putting it next to each other.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. And on the calluses side of things, we do have another bit of feedback. This is from the Talk Ward cosplayer.
Do the names get any better?
No, not really. From them, they've basically said that Braille would be beneficial to them, but it's too expensive and inaccessible. And my thing is, like, that's the whole point of technology. It's cheaper, it's widespread, and it's accessible. And their post was quite long, but they were saying with like chemicals and heat from their job, they don't really have any sensation in their fingers, which means Braille was very difficult.
Hats off to them. They got a job, baby.
Fair play to them. Fair play to them. And
my genuine kudos on that one.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not a glamorous job, what they've said, but at the same time, money's money.
And what job it is?
Exactly.
Porn star.
Yes, exactly.
I assume. Actor. Rock star. There's quite a few, but you get my point.
Yeah. And final bit of feedback, which came from... This is from Mostly Blind Gamer, because everyone's a fucking gamer nowadays. And they've basically said, is paper still useful? Well, there you have it. That was the entirety of their comment. There's no pro, no con there. I imagine it's facetious. And I would say I haven't used paper or written anything on paper in around 10 years.
Do you know what? Very quick one. I fucking hate post-it notes. They're absolutely useless. I can't read them. They're in stupid colours. Why keep making these? They are useless.
Yes.
Fucking send an email, send anything, just a voice note, just whatever. Don't use post-its. Come on, people.
Yeah. And stop killing the planet.
Exactly.
Stop killing the planet for like fucking paper.
Yeah.
Like, it's pointless.
Give me all of your post-it notes and I'll throw them on my log burner and add to the CO2.
100%. Speaking of CO2, we'll move on to quick news.
This is Blind Quick News with your anchors, Cool Cleaves and Terrible T.
Nicely done. So this is a new thing we're just going to try out. We're going to pick one news story we've seen throughout the week. But if you want to read the whole articles, they're in the description, but we're just going to give you the rough crux of it. So, Cleves, what have you got for us this week?
Tattoo artist goes blind after she gets her eyes tattooed. It's a thing. You can get your eyeballs tattooed. Look it up. See the notes. It's fucking mental. I really want to speak to this person.
So this was to do with like saline solution or something, wasn't it?
I don't give a shit. We're not going into it. It's quick news. You'll go.
Quick news. So, my quick news. A counsellor in Bournemouth in the UK has basically said that medium and large dogs should be banned because they basically provide no evidence for this. And it was along the lines of they eat 20% of
It's
all...
quick news, God!
I'm getting there.
Exactly, eventually.
20% of all of the meat eaten is from dogs, and like they emit as much CO2 per dog as a Land Rover. No evidence for this. It's a load of bollocks. Read for yourself in the description, in the show notes. What absolute tosser, basically dog genocide, if you read what he actually said. So we'll leave it there.
And that was blind, quick to medium news.
Thanks. You're a cunt. I never specified how quick the news had to be.
I've got a deadline to work to, what can I say?
Yeah, I know you do. Okay, so topic of the week.
Oh man, we've to be fair, we've used the topic of the week a lot recently.
We have. I don't mind
Bringing it back for the new year.
Topic of the week.
So what's the topic of the week, please?
Pod rape. I need to do a theme for that as well. Rape me in, baby. Alright. Today's topic is, are you fucking up your kids by coddling them?
So coddling, if we do T explains it all. You don't need the music here. Coddling, I think, is a British term, isn't it? Wrapping your kid up in cotton wool.
You didn't explain it, you just gave a different analogy.
Yeah, okay. So being overprotective of your child, living their life, just being overprotective. And this happens within the disabled community quite a lot. So coddling, I think, is a real big issue. It's dangerous to kids. It can really affect their lives in the negative.
Alright, but coddle me this. If someone's doing everything for you, can they not just do it for you your entire life? All you got to do is find someone else to do that shit for you.
And then not be an individual.
Yeah, but if you have someone that does everything for you all the time, you don't need to be an individual. You can get someone else to do it.
You're a drain on society.
Well, yeah, but you don't know that, do you? Because you've had someone else do it for all the
But
time.
everyone else knows that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they'll all know it. They'll all
Yeah.
secretly resent you deep down.
Yeah.
But you won't know that unless someone specifically tells you.
Let people live their life.
That I resent you.
Okay, firstly, for context, none of us have kids. We don't have kids, we're not parents, but this is a warning to parents.
And I am a kid
From
of someone.
And as am I. I've been disabled, just for context, disabled from birth, like pretty much blind my entire life. Cleves is kicked in, 11?
No, about 8, 9 years old.
8, 9 years old. So, like, still within like the school years, beginning of school years. So we know what we're talking about and what works and what doesn't fucking work. And this comes from our experience of seeing it elsewhere as well.
From a kid's view, not from a parent's view.
But we both have parents. So we saw what they did as well. So that is also context. So what is the issue with this, Cleves? Where do we start off?
When your kids are growing up and you do everything for them, they then don't learn the basic skills. So if you have a kid that's blind and you think, oh, do you know what? He can't change his bed. She can't cook a meal. They can't light a fire. I don't know why they'd light a fire. Maybe they want to be an arsonist or whatever. Do you know, I in my head I went to the log burner in my house. Anyway, if they can't do any of that, then I'll just do it for them because it's much easier. It's less time consuming for me because I have to teach them how to do it, and I can just do it because, you know, they'll always be around. Whatever. Not the point though, is it? Because then they can't fucking do any of those things.
Maybe in their head as a parent, they think it's safer. Maybe it's safer. I don't want them to hurt themselves, so I'm going to do it for them.
Nah, let them hurt themselves. You seen that Ray Charles movie with Jamie Foxx where he's by the fire and his mum lets him fucking go near it?
Yeah.
And he's like, fucking fire hot. Yeah, well, it's a valuable lesson, that.
Yeah. And this is the issue. And we saw it in Blind Young Things. And I feel harsh for picking on Dan, but he's a really good example. And he wasn't the only person
He was
there.
one of at least 75%.
Yes. Who can't do basic things. Like, at the age of like 18 plus, can't do basic things. And we're not talking about like ridiculously complex things like doing your taxes or understanding finance. We're talking about making a cheese sandwich, to use the classic example. And that's inexcusable why that's never been...
Especially if you left the fridge door open.
Cardinal sin.
So this is the problem. Like, if you coddle your kids and do everything for them, they're never going to get independent. And you might think that you're doing them a favour, but you're really not. Sometimes it's just like, do it yourself. If you're hungry, make yourself something to eat. Like,
You don't need to just not do it for them, but show them how to do it, especially if they're total, and they'll find their own ways around it.
Yeah.
To get things out of where they know and how to make things, but don't just do it for them. That's fucking bad.
Yeah.
You will fuck your kid up.
It's like the classic like expression of like, don't give a fisherman a fish, give him a fishing rod.
I don't think that's the expression.
Okay, teach a man to fish.
That's
what it is.
Yeah.
Teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself for his life, but don't give him a fish because then like, he's eating for one day.
Yeah.
Just to paraphrase it. And that's the same with your kids. Like, if they want to do stuff, let them do stuff. Let them make the mistakes. Moving on from this also creates a lot of social issues.
Here's the thing, right? If your kid can't do basic things, then it then transfers into social situations. If you're around school, work, any other kind of social situations, because people know that you're different because you can't do the basic things that everyone else can do. Yeah. Whereas if you've taught them to do it, okay, yeah, they might do it in a slightly different way, but they can still do it. It makes them less different.
100%. And this comes down to confidence for your child as well.
If experience is the best way to gain confidence.
And a lot of like disabled children, and we know that the blind side of things more than anything, but I'd say this goes across the board to disability in general. If they have no confidence, then they're going to be really awkward in social situations. They maybe keep their head down and they'll be very quiet. And yeah, this sounds familiar. Like your kid's really good at studying and they keep their head down. They work really hard at school, but they only maybe have one or two friends and they also have bullies as well like that. It's because you're coddling them. Because they don't have the confidence from the independence that they'd get from doing everything themselves. And it sounds harsh, but get them to do their own clothes, get them to make their own lunch and stuff like that. Encourage them to be their own person, and you'll find that it will improve.
The best gifts my parents gave to me was the fact that I could iron, cook, clean, look after myself by the age of about 10, 11.
Exactly.
And most normies can't do that now.
But it helps so much because it gives them that baseline confidence to be like, well, no, I'm an adult. I'm independent. I can look after myself. I have the confidence, and that's so much better than just looking after them because kids do pick up on this shit. They know the kid who has their parents do everything for them, and that's dangerous because that's when you get sectioned off, you get picked on. That's what happens, unfortunately.
If you're not getting picked on, then again, like you say, you can get sectioned off just the same as don't really want to hang out with him or you're hanging out with them because of, it's community service, essentially. We don't want to be like that. You want to be hanging out with that person because you like them, regardless of their disability.
And if we move on a little bit from the whole bullying side of things, okay, parents aren't going to want to hear this. Bullying will happen. At some point in your child's life, it will happen. It comes with being different. I don't care who you are. If you're disabled, there'll always be that one dickhead who will try and pick on your child. And it's just because, and you can say, oh, it's because you're different, or they're jealous, or all the other fucking stereotypes. It's not true. Kids don't think that much. It's because they're different, and they can get some social, big ups from their mates from picking on someone. And you think, oh yeah, but what are you going to get from picking on a disabled kid? Is that going to really give you much social credibility? Kids don't care. Any credibility is credibility. So it will fucking happen. Accept that, and as soon as you accept it, you can work around it. The school you can't rely on to do stuff. But there are things you can do. Firstly, school is only one part of your kid's life. They're forced to be there. They're forced to be with those kids. They're in that place 6 to 8 hours a day. They haven't got a choice in it. And, because of their disability, they might fall down the step and that might blow their credibility. But you can give them the confidence to, shrug it off. And you can also give them alternatives. Alternative friend groups. So other things you can do is, extracurricular stuff. Like getting them involved in a hobby. So blind judo. Fantastic. Sort of it's a competitive sport.
I did judo as a child. I wasn't blind at that point. I was still partly sighted, but you don't need a lot of sight to be able to do judo. So that's a really good one.
It's also adaptive as well, because blind judo is a Paralympic sport. The only difference is that you are in the clinch when you start any match. But firstly, it's a self-defense. Secondly, you're getting your kid to know people outside of their school, and they might have some schoolmates there. But then when they go to school and they're getting picked on, or they got that arsehole coming up and giving them issues, they can be like, well, firstly, I'm confident. I know I'm physically quite capable of looking after myself because of all the stuff I do for myself, as well as the sports I do and activities I do. But also, why do I have to be friends with these pricks? Because I get on really well with the people at judo or netball or football. I get on really well with those guys because I've got other friend groups outside here. It's like at work. Don't get on well with people at work. Are you forced to hang out with people at work? Of course you're fucking not. You go to the pub with your mates, not necessarily the people from work. And if you get some friends from work, that's great. School's exactly the same. It's work for children. So do that. Don't be on their shoulder when you take them to these activities.
Going back one step as well, judo, great activity for blind people because it teaches martial arts, but also it teaches you, it's a great martial art for blind people because you've got hold of someone. Once you get hold of them, at that point, you can make them submit, you can break their arm, you can smash their face in, but it teaches them to get hold of them. You might have to take a few punches on the way in, but by the time you got hold of them, that's it. They're yours.
Close the gap.
Yeah.
If you haven't got sight, close the gap. And that's why I've done judo. I've done other things before as well, but judo is really valuable. Just get hold of them, and that's an invaluable skill for life because even when your kid grows up,
tells you to take someone down in a fight and then incapacitate him from that point.
Exactly. What's say they're getting mugs in the future, when they're grown up. If they're a black belt in judo, you at least you're giving them the tools to a degree what they can do to.
You can put someone on the floor with judo, and at that point, then you can smash the face into the ground.
Exactly. So
proper American History X style.
Yeah.
But without the racism.
We're really paragon in judo here.
Yeah.
But I think it really is beneficial, especially for blind children. But there are other things out there.
Another thing that you can do is you sometimes oversubscribe to the disability, if you will. You will give your kid everything that they could possibly have. Like if you're blind, you'll give them screen readers, you'll give them
personal assistant.
Personal assistants, alarms for liquid and things like that. It's just too much. All it does is really highlight the difference in that kid compared to another. What you should be teaching people, or what I think you should be teaching people if you have a child, is how to get around regular problems that a blind person or a disabled person may face without having to use technology if you can. The classic example, and we brought it up before, is pouring a cup of tea. You pour the liquid in, you hook your thumb over the side, and when the boiling water touches your thumb, it hurts a little bit. However, you will get used to that, and no one knows that you're having to use a fucking liquid alarm. Because when shit like that happens, people can see that you're different. And you can make the argument in the fact that, society should be more acceptable to people being different and having liquid alarms and all sorts of accessible tech. However, currently, they're fucking not. So,
haven't been for 30 years.
At best, meet them halfway.
And this comes down to asking your kid what they need. And if we go on another extreme of this, there'll always be the temptation to try and seek funding from the council to get a PA to write down stuff from the board and help your kid at school. Firstly, if you want to get them bullied, get an OAP following them about. That's definitely going to make them stand out. You don't want that. Especially with technology now, there's no reason that they need that. Teachers can send notes. there's so many resources online, like the stuff on the board isn't really that necessary, and teachers should be better at that. Bring it up with the teacher at the parent-teacher evenings if you're concerned that the teacher ain't doing enough for your kid. But yeah, having like that, it's too much. And I wish that I was consulted when I was at school. God would have done it and said, no, I don't need this person.
Yeah, but when you were at school, the world was in black and white, mate.
Not that old.
I know, I was at school at the same time.
Yeah, you were. We're in the same year, you dick. So, yeah, you don't need to give them everything. You just need to ask them what they want and what they think they'd benefit from, and then give them that. And again, don't be sensitive about, if they turn around and say, I don't want this, don't take it to heart because you've hunted and fought for it. If it's not for them, it's not for them. And just because you fought for 3 months that you could get a screen reader for them, and they turn around and say, I don't need this screen reader, don't then get like, oh, well, fine.
Best thing you can do is listen to your fucking kid.
Yeah, it's their life. And just think, all the adaptations you give them now, they'll need them later in life. Think about what they'll be using realistically in their job, which you want them to get. Prepare them for that situation, which is going to be a lot of standard technology. Make them adapt to it now. Screen readers and all that sort of shit is fine. You can get that on any piece of technology now. But don't give them things in school which they're not going to have in a job. Otherwise they'll never have a job. Because you made them reliant on things that are not really feasible.
Right. So lastly for me, and the reason I brought this up last is because I actually don't agree with your view about kids are always going to get bullied. And for me, this is down to attitude. And that's why I've knocked it out last. The main reason I did not get bullied is because if I had a problem with my disability that showed it, I did not give a fuck. Because, I did give a fuck. Deep down, let's be honest. I'm just a child. However, on the surface, if you can ride that shit out and not care, if you can laugh it off, if you can roll with it, then people will respect you for that. They don't give a shit. Like, if they think, oh yeah, he's blind, but whatever, he's walked into a tree, and you know what? He fucking laughed that shit off. No one cares. Because people will be like, oh yeah, okay, Cleves is fine, but he's the disabled one of the group. Everyone has to have a disabled one. It's like the law of the Goonies. Everyone has to have a disabled person in their group. You may as well have one that can actually fucking laugh about shit.
And not call up the school and be like, oh, they laughed at my kid because they walked into a tree. And
that's down to the person again. But as a parent, you can help that. If a kid comes home and says, oh, the kids all laughed at me because, I don't know, I walked into a tree or I had an epileptic fit in class and I was sick everywhere. I'd be like, great, I fucking got out of class and I vomited on the desks. Fucking double win. Do you know what I mean? I'll be riding that shit out for days. You need to pick the positives of your battle, stick to them, and do not let any other person know about the fact that it bothers you. You do not ever need to do that. The attitude for me was always there. And I feel like I could be wrong, because I feel like I do have some genuine qualities. However, a lot of the reason my friends do not mind hanging out with me is the fact that I don't give a shit about my own disability.
Yeah.
They all know about it. They're all fine with it. But that's because I'm fine with it. If, for example, my friend walked me into a fucking lamppost, and friends have done that, at speed, and it hurts, but you look past it and just go, don't worry, mate, I'm fine. You wipe the blood away, and you carry on, because that's what you do. You don't make a big deal of it, you just keep going. And I feel, that's why I say, you will get bullied. I have not been bullied for my disability, but I feel that is largely in part of the fact that I've never given a fuck about it.
That's fair. But of course, yeah, we're giving both sides of this.
Exactly. That's why I let you do you first.
Yeah. Because you could not give a fuck and still get bullied.
And here's the thing, it's easier said than done. It can't be a thing that you just turn on.
I think the important thing is there's options, isn't there?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's options. Build confidence whatever way you can, and a not giving a fuck attitude. It's not something you're born with. It's something that you have to develop and you have to hone, and it's still difficult no matter how old you get. But I think the key is, like...
The key is, if you're a parent, don't coddle your kids. Let them fucking do what they want. If you can, tell them that your disability is not an issue. It's never been an issue. If other people are saying that your disability is an issue, don't listen to them. Just fucking laugh it off, or more to the point, joke with it. If you can make a joke out of your disability, I find that's great.
And one day the world will get better. But all the time it isn't. And like, issues seem the same as they did 30 years ago. So don't expect meaningful change anytime soon. So they got to roll with the punches. Unfortunately, and this is maybe not what you want to hear, but your disabled child, or you as a disabled person, you have to make an effort to fit into society and be normal. They're not doing you any fucking favours. Do what you can to fit in.
Normies suck, mate. They're terrible. But yeah, if you can make an effort to be as normal as possible, they will make the bare minimum effort to accommodate your disability. And honestly, more to the point, they won't care about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They will not segregate you for this. They will like you for you. Because if you don't give a shit about your disability, they won't either.
Exactly. And then one day we'll have a disabled uprising. All the normies will be in camps. And then we can make them manufacture VCRs, which are redundant. So they know what it feels like. I don't know, it's a tangent. I don't fucking know. As we said, we're not parents. Take this with a pinch of salt. But also, fucking listen. Don't fuck up your kids. The point is, there's resources out there. And there's alternatives out there. So, there's no reason why your kids should have a hard time. So
I feel like we've had a genuinely productive episode.
Yeah.
That's not like us. What the
no,
fuck?
for a change, yeah.
What the shit? We don't do this.
You know what? I can't wait to see the fucking Reddit thread on this one.
Well, you'll see it in the links.
So, in the show notes below, before we get to the final credits, you will find the Braille Reddit. You will also find the Reddit for this show. If you want to give a counter opinion or have a discussion about coddling children, the pros, the cons, we want to hear everything. You might be mentioned on the show next week if you give something that's actually worth saying.
Or not.
But in the meantime, party on, Cleves.
Yeah, see you next week, mate.
Thanks for listening to the Seesaw Podcast.
You can find us on Facebook at Seesaw Podcast, Twitter, Seesaw Pod. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram at Seesaw Podcast or Seesaw Pod, depending on which one we want. But get us on the other places. This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.
I love a good willy wash. If someone else is doing it for me, great.